Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. Today is the start of a little mini-series that I'm going to be doing on this channel, which is my summer transfer wish list. So the players that I think Liverpool should ideally be bringing in this summer transfer window. And starting off rather sensibly with the defenders, because I think last season Liverpool's forward line was very impressive. The midfield, there were lots of options, they linked up well, but the defence was a problem that kept on cropping up throughout the season, and in the end is probably what ended up costing us what looked like quite a promising title challenge earlier on in the season. So I think defenders do need to be quite a high priority during this summer transfer window. And starting off, I think a centre-back is the main priority overall, because while Matip and Lovren weren't exactly the worst centre-back partnership in the world, they did look promising at times. Certainly earlier on in the season, they looked quite strong as a partnership. But it tends to be that one of them is almost always injured. And with a centre-back partnership, you want them to play regularly, you want them to form an understanding, and you want to be able to rely on them. And if both of them are getting injured regularly and you have to sorry, if you have to constantly rely on your third choice centre-back, which, no disrespect to Ranyar Klavan, is not the best player in the world, and I don't really want to be seeing him starting for Liverpool in Champions League matches, you're going to need to bring in a new player, and that is kind of what I'm hoping and expecting Liverpool to do in this summer transfer window. So what kind of player do we need to be looking at for centre-back? Starting off, I think they need to be quite fast, because Liverpool play a very high defensive line. They often play possession football, and teams tend to sit back quite a lot against us. So those centre-backs, the two of them, will often find themselves in and around the halfway line kind of area. And when they started doing that last season, opposition teams did start to exploit it. They started playing on the counter-attack, putting their fastest players up front and trying to exploit us in that manner. So we need the kind of defender who's fast, can play on the turn, and can often deal with counter-attacks. So hopefully Liverpool don't get caught out like that next season. On a similar topic, they also need to be able to play out from the back, because if they're playing that high defensive line and the teams are parking the bus, then it was often asked of our defenders last season to try and start off attacking moves or just bring a bit of spark and creativity to get things going. And Matip has done a little bit of that. He's a little bit of a centre-back playmaker in some ways, but that's not really the style of Dejan Lovren. So I think Liverpool need to be able to bring in a player who's capable of passing the ball, happy to start off moves, and able to just start creating things to get the team going and hopefully lead to us scoring more goals against teams who do park the bus, because that happens quite often against Liverpool recently. They also need to be good enough for first team Champions League football, because it comes to this whole idea that Jurgen Klopp seems to have this transfer window of bringing in players who are an upgrade on what he's got and bring extra things to the team that he doesn't have already. And at the moment, I think Lovren and Matip are maybe good enough to start Champions League matches together. But again, I don't think Ranyar Klavan really is. So I'd like to see Liverpool bring in another centre-back who is more than capable of playing Champions League football, playing against the best teams in Europe and playing well against them. So we need to bring in a player who's capable of doing that and looks comfortable playing at the top level. Finally, I'd also like to see a centre-back who likes to marshal the defence and control what's going on in and around the back four, because this comes back to the problem that Liverpool always seem to have around set pieces. There seems to be a lack of organisation. We saw this highlighted in the game yesterday against Wigan when Liverpool conceded from yet another set piece and loose ball situation. I think they just need a player like Jamie Carragher or Sami Hyypiä, or maybe even just Daniel Agger, who actually likes marshalling the defence, telling people where to go, who to mark, who their man is, because they kind of have this in Simon Mignolet. He does a lot of shouting with his defence. He likes to order them about during free kicks. But I think they need an outfield defender doing it as well. Someone who's this sort of back four captain figure to keep things under control, keep everyone disciplined and make sure that Liverpool don't get sloppy in these set-piece situations. So all in all, I think the kind of player that we're looking for at centre-back is a Mats Hummels style figure. He sort of has all the things that Jurgen Klopp wants from his defenders, which is unsurprising considering he played for Jurgen Klopp at Dortmund. Someone who likes playing out from the back, likes marshalling his defence, plays Champions League football, and is also good at playing a high line and dealing with counter-attacks. But obviously, Mats Hummels is not the kind of player that I think Liverpool are actually going to be able to buy. He doesn't look like he's leaving Bayern Munich, and we haven't been linked with him at any point at all over this summer transfer window. A player we have been linked with, though, all throughout the summer transfer window is Virgil van Dijk, and he does fit this mould pretty much perfectly, and it's not surprising therefore that Jurgen Klopp has been on and off chasing this player all summer. At the moment the deal is neither here nor there. There seems to be different reports coming out every single night saying that Southampton won't sell, saying that Liverpool are going to be able to push the deal over the line, saying Liverpool are going to bid the money, saying we're not going to bid the money. So as it stands, when I'm recording this at least, that deal still is very much all over the place. Doesn't really look like it's going to go either way just yet. I would love to see him at Liverpool. I'd be absolutely ecstatic if we can pull off the transfer, especially after it looked dead in the water at the beginning of the window. But I think Liverpool do need to be very careful in that they don't put all their eggs in one basket, and maybe look a little bit further afield for other options if the Virgil van Dijk transfer doesn't materialise, because they do need a player like this summer transfer window. If they don't get Van Dijk, I think they're probably going to end up going abroad and looking at players from other Champions League clubs. Kalidou Koulibaly at Napoli is a good example of this. A player who's probably going to end up costing about £40 million, maybe even £50 million if we get pressured in the deal, especially if we try and do it later on in the window, considering that we're currently committed to try and getting Virgil van Dijk. But I think we're probably going to end up either getting Virgil van Dijk, or if that doesn't fall through, hopefully we can seal a top defender from a top European club elsewhere who can bring that Champions League football and all the other traits that Liverpool defenders need. Moving on, the other position in the defence that Liverpool do really need to fill is left back, because this has been a problem position for a while, as we know from the fact that Jurgen Klopp has ditched Alberto Moreno, Liverpool's only out-and-out left back, for favour of a centre midfielder in James Milner for an entire season. So it certainly is clear that Liverpool need to do something with this left back position, because I think while there were a lot of positives to James Milner's game, I don't think he was awful at left back last season. There were still a lot of glaring things missing out from his game that Liverpool need in the left backs that they are going to be signing. So starting off, I think the main traits that they need are being fast, attacking, and also clinical in those attacking areas. Because, again, it comes back to this idea of Liverpool bringing in players who are an improvement on what they've got and offer things that they don't currently have in those positions. And James Milner, he's a good athlete, but he's not necessarily fast, especially while charging down those left flanks. And also in terms of attacking play, again, I've never been critical of his defensive play. I think he's very good against the big teams when there's a lot asked of him in those defensive regions of the pitch. When teams are sitting back and he's being asked to contribute to the attack, he just doesn't really bring much. He passes the ball around, he's in those positions, but he doesn't really create anything. He doesn't bring much of a spark. So Liverpool need a player who can do that and who can also be clinical in those areas. We need players who are able to put in good crosses, create chances, and also players who are capable of driving into the box and scoring goals for themselves. I mean, if you need evidence of just how attacking Liverpool's fullbacks need to be, the two players in the Premier League last season who received the ball the most in terms of overlapping passes were Milner and Klein, both of our starting fullbacks. So that is some pretty solid evidence of how much attacking they need to be able to do. I think they also need to be quite young, simply because it's going to take them a lot of time to adapt to Jurgen Klopp's system. Fullbacks are very important in Jurgen Klopp's system. They need to be able to function as wing backs. They need to be able to help out those wingers in the wide areas and stretch the opposition defences. So I think they need to be young. They need to be able to take a lot of information on board and learn what it means to play for a Jurgen Klopp team. And this is kind of why I can see that we've sort of turned down the opportunity to sign players earlier on in the window like Gael Clichy, who were available on a free. They've been released by their clubs, but they're a little bit old and they don't really contribute much in terms of attacking play, and they're probably not going to be able to learn much about playing under Jurgen Klopp. So I think we need young players. We need players who are going to be able to learn a lot and hopefully will be effectively ones for the future. And that does mean, unfortunately, that we might be seeing James Milner for a little bit longer than we maybe want. But for now, I think Liverpool are going to be bringing in a young attacking left back who is capable of producing big things maybe later on in their career. So while the idea of signing him has been a little bit maligned by Liverpool fans over this window, I wouldn't actually be too disappointed seeing Andrew Robertson from Hull coming in. If you are still a little bit apprehensive about the signing, which at the time of recording looks like it's actually going to be over the line, apparently Liverpool have agreed an £8 million fee with Hull, which, considering Kyle Walker's just sold for £50 million, is a pretty decent fee for a full-back. But, I mean, if you need more convincing about Andrew Robertson and his abilities, then there was a pretty good article on the Anfield Wrap about him that actually did convince me that Liverpool should definitely sign Andrew Robertson. I'll try and find that article and put that link in the description if so, because it is a very good read. But I certainly don't think that Andrew Robertson will be a bad signing for Liverpool. I think it's important also that we maybe do scrimp a little bit on our signings in this transfer window if we do want to sign big players like Virgil van Dijk, who could cost upward of £70 million if we're not careful in the negotiations. So I don't mind seeing us buy players like Andrew Robertson, who could play well this season and should certainly have a big role in Liverpool going forward in the coming seasons in future for small fees of £8 million. Finally, the right back position, if you ask me, is pretty much fine. I don't think Liverpool really need to be signing any players at right back this transfer window, simply because at the moment Klein, while he's not spectacular, I don't think he quite suits Jurgen Klopp's system in terms of attacking play. He's pretty much fine for now. And Trent AlexanderArnold looks like a fantastic prospect going forward. I think even this season he could probably look to be playing an awful lot of football and maybe even overtake Nathaniel Klein. He's certainly played better than Nathaniel Klein has so far in pre-season. So I think we will see a lot of Trent AlexanderArnold going forward, and I think he will probably be Liverpool's first choice right back for the next few years to come. So all in all, Liverpool need to be making at least 2 signings in their defence this season, and that is the big money centre-back and the young promising left-back. Again, Virgil van Dijk and Andrew Robertson are the ideal targets for that, but Virgil van Dijk, that deal may fall through. For now, it looks like the Andrew Robertson deal is over the line, so hopefully we will have one of those 2 defensive deals already out the way, which will be good news. I'm excited already to kind of hopefully see what he can produce in pre-season if he does sign for the club. It might be nice to see us bring in a few more defenders other than just those 2, simply because going into the Champions League we're going to be fighting on 4 fronts hopefully this season, so we do need a little bit more going for squad depth. But for now, I think those 2 players are the main priority, and hopefully Liverpool can get those deals over the line this summer. So that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, why not give it a like? If you're new around here, why not subscribe to the channel and check out some of the other videos that have been out over the past few weeks. Apart from that, don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye for now.